morning, America. Breaking news. Concerns growing overnight about another North Korean missile test after the largest provocation yet from Kim Jong-un's regime, saying they successfully detonated a hydrogen bomb. Now the UN Security Council calling an emergency meeting, and the White House keeping all options on the table as a new firestorm brews over immigration and what the president is preparing to announce about the so-called dreamers.
All eyes on Hurricane Irma, growing in strength right now. Already a major Category 3 storm with 115-mile-an-hour winds closing in on the Caribbean. Florida on alert as Houston faces new fallout from Hurricane Harvey. The new mandatory evacuations this morning.
Murder mystery. Did cold medicine turn an aspiring pastor into a killer? The bizarre 911 call.
I think I did it. I can't believe this.
The husband now facing charges for killing his wife in his sleep.
And breaking baby news. Princess Kate and Prince William revealing they're expecting baby number 3. What we're learning about Kate's condition and the new royal sibling for George and Charlotte.
From ABC News, live in Times Square, this is Good Morning America.
And Good Morning America. Great to have you with us on this Labor Day. Very exciting baby news for Princess Kate and Prince William. And you, Paula, know a thing or two about having 3 kids around the house.
Yeah, this is when you find out what you're made of as parents, when you go from man coverage to zone coverage. So we want to say good luck to the Duke and the Prince and Princess. Congratulations to them. We're going to have much more on that ahead. But first, we want to get to those breaking developments on North Korea. This morning, there are new concerns. Another missile test could be coming as world leaders condemn the rogue nation's latest and largest test yet. Kim Jong-un's regime saying they successfully detonated a hydrogen bomb. Our chief foreign correspondent, Terry Moran, is near the border in Seoul, South Korea for us this morning. Terry, good morning to you.
Good morning, Paula. This is a huge step forward for North Korea. Make no mistake about it. And as you say, looks like there's more to come. The South Korean government saying they see preparations for another ballistic missile test by North Korea. So they are accelerating the deployment of advanced missile defense systems with the U.S. Kim Jong-un is sending a message here, and it's crystal clear. He wants a full-fledged nuclear capability, and right now, nothing is slowing him down. This morning, a show of force by the South Korean military, F-15 fighter jets on live fire maneuver, and missiles launched, all simulating an attack on the north, the day after North Korea celebrated its 6th and most alarming nuclear test yet. Kim Jong-un, the North Korean dictator, posed smiling and proud just hours before the blast, showing off what Pyongyang claimed is a hydrogen bomb, vastly more powerful than the ones dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and capable, North Korea says, of fitting on the head of an intercontinental missile, though some experts say that's a fake bomb in the photo. On North Korean state-run television, people cheered news of the test, which triggered a major 6.3 magnitude earthquake. That's more than 10 times the force created by Pyongyang's previous attempt last September. After attending church service Sunday, the president was asked directly if he plans a military strike on North Korea.
Mr. President, will you attack North Korea?
U.S. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, somber and stern, issuing an ominous warning after meeting with the president.
Any threat to the United States or its territories, including Guam, or our allies, will be met with a massive military response. We are not looking to the total annihilation of a country, namely North Korea. But as I said, we have many options to do so.
President Trump also firing off a series of responses via Twitter, saying the rogue nation's words and actions are very hostile and dangerous to the United States, hitting not just North Korea, but also U.S. ally South Korea for not being tough enough. Their talk of appeasement with North Korea will not work, he tweeted. They only understand one thing. With a series of 13 launches beginning in February, the regime has demonstrated its rapidly developing nuclear capabilities and a range of possible targets, prompting President Trump to hurl this threat in August.
They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen.
But Kim Jong-un is quickly changing the equation. He will soon be able to make his own threats of nuclear fire and fury against the U.S. homeland entirely credible. The North Korean nuclear blast came at almost the exact minute that Chinese leader Xi Jinping was opening a major economic conference, almost as if Kim Jong-un is taunting the Chinese too. The UN Security Council will meet this morning in emergency session to try to get a handle on this crisis. Dan?
Seems like he's taunting many targets. Terry Moran, thank you. For more on this new threat from North Korea, let's bring in our military analyst, Steve Ganyard. Steve, good morning. As simply as you can you explain the difference between the atomic bombs that the North Koreans have tested previously and this new bomb?
I think the easiest way to think about this, Dan, is think about a firecracker, a small firecracker. That's what their original atomic bomb was. And what we saw yesterday was a whole stick of dynamite. It was 6 times more. What we saw yesterday was 6 times more explosive than what they'd previously done. It was 8 times more than what the U.S. dropped on Hiroshima. And once they perfect the technology, it will be 10 times larger and more capable than their original atomic weapon.
Okay, so that's all pretty horrifying. And now there's talk of another missile launch coming soon, perhaps. How significant a provocation would that be?
I think we look at it both as a provocation and how deliberate Kim is being in developing his nuclear weapons program. So we know that the last launch went over Japan. If he really wanted to stretch the legs of his ICBMs, he's going to need to do that again and put a missile somewhere between Alaska and Hawaii to demonstrate that range. But it continues to be a developmental program to be able to have a very credible, capable, and reliable means to hit the continental United States with a nuclear weapon.
Now, there are many people who feel that the U.S. really doesn't have any viable military options here, that starting a war on the Korean Peninsula would just be too costly in terms of human life. But is living with a nuclear North Korea, a North Korea that could hit us with a nuke, is that really tenable? Can't they just hold us hostage indefinitely in that case?
Dan, I think one of the things to think about is yesterday we saw the demonstration of a thermonuclear device. So any kind of a preventive attack, military attack on the North could involve eventually the exchange of thermonuclear weapons. So we're going to have to learn to live with a nuclear North Korea, but we also need to be able to stop them on the proliferation of WMD.
Steve Ganyard with some unsettling news on this Monday morning. Steve, thank you. Paula, over to you.
Yeah, it certainly is disturbing to hear how powerful that H-bomb was. Thanks, Dan. And President Trump is holding that urgent meeting in the wake of the new North Korean threat. Our chief White House correspondent John Karl's in Washington with the very latest on the options, both trade and military, that the Trump administration is now considering. John, good morning to you. And first and foremost, what can you tell us about the options that the White House is contemplating this morning?
Well, first, on the non-military side, he's talking about something that is the economic equivalent of a nuclear strike. The president tweeted, and his Treasury Secretary said that he was working on a plan that would cut off all trade, Paula, all trade with any country that trades with North Korea. Of course, the biggest trading partner that North Korea has is also our biggest trading partner, China. This would be a massive economic step with serious repercussions. In terms of military options, the interesting thing and what you heard from General Mattis is that they are threatening annihilation, a major strike against North Korea for any threat to the United States, Guam, or our allies.
Strong words there. And let's shift gears a little bit. John, back at home, we're expecting a ruling on DACA this week, which is going to determine the fate of 800,000 dreamers in this country. Now, the constitutionality of it has long been questioned since President Obama carried it out without Congress. But what do you expect to happen?
Well, it seems like the president is moving towards a step that would do away with DACA, but do away with it over a period of time, a period of several months. It would give Congress the time to do this in what the White House sees as a constitutional way. Of course, Paula, there is no guarantee that Congress would do that.
All right, John Karl, thanks for your analysis from the White House this morning. Dan?
John, thank you. For more on all of the big stories in the morning, let's bring in our chief political analyst, Matthew Dowd. Matt, good morning. Let's start with the Dreamers. Could ending this program be politically perilous for the president?
I think the president's in a really difficult situation right now. The country, instead of looking for a commander-in-chief in this moment, is looking for a chief of compassion in this. And that program obviously affects 800,000 people. He has kicked the can down the road. He looks like he's going to give it to Congress. The president is in a difficult bind. He promises base one thing, but I think he knows the country wants something else today.
He seems to have been struggling with this quite publicly. Let's get back to North Korea quickly. President Trump, he has spoken with some seriously bellicose language here, talking about fire and fury. Has he possibly boxed himself in with these aggressive remarks?
Well, I think not only he's boxed himself in, but our country has boxed themselves in. This has been a problem that's been ongoing for the last 30 years. And I think it's time that we finally come to the conclusion is, yes, he's going to have a nuclear weapon, and how do we deal with that? And we have to deal with that through some sort of deterrence or containment. The president has to come to the conclusion that North Korea has a weapon. What do we do now in dealing with that?
Matt Dow, we always appreciate your analysis. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Paul, over to you.
Thanks. And now to the latest on Hurricane Irma. It is a Category 3 storm right now. It is strengthening by the minute, and it's closing in on the Caribbean, but models show it could be headed for the southeast. Ginger is here tracking it all for us this morning. Good morning to you, Ginger.
Good morning to you, Paula. So much interest in this storm because everyone is very hurricane weary right now, and we should be. We should be prepping, but not yet freaking out, and here's why. We don't have a definitive answer on U.S. landfall. What we do know is that this thing is a strong, still Category 3, moving west, a little southwest, but it eventually will take more of a west-northwest turn. The northern Leeward Islands are under hurricane watch. That's happening Wednesday into Thursday. North of Puerto Rico, this track takes it, and then into the southern Bahamas by the weekend. That's the big thing that you have to pay attention to, the weekend. So we're talking about still almost a week before it would impact the United States or have the potential to do so. We put a couple of computer spaghetti plots on just to give you an idea of how widespread those thoughts are, anywhere from Mobile Bay up the coast to North Carolina. Dan?
So you say don't freak out now, but still concerning nonetheless. As we closely watch Hurricane Irma, millions of people are cleaning up from Hurricane Harvey. The crisis far from over. Neighborhoods struggling to recover as waters recede. The storm killing at least 44 people and damaging or destroying more than 185,000 homes. ABC's Victor Oquendo is right there on the ground in Houston for us yet again this morning. Victor, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan, and this is what so many neighborhoods across the region look like this morning. Piles of debris just lining the streets. Here, it looks like there's an entire bedroom set on display. You got the headboard there. There's a dresser with clothes still coming out of it. There's a big chair over there right next to it. But here's the thing. In this area, at least they're dry. We found one neighborhood in West Houston that's still underwater. This morning, another round of mandatory evacuations for about 4,600 homes, and crews ordered to cut power to many to reduce the risk of electrocutions. More than a week since Harvey hit, and unbelievably, potential for more rising waters, leading to a new mandate from Houston's mayor.
If you got water in your home, I'm requiring you to evacuate.
In Bear Creek Village in Houston, water still as high as 5 feet. We took a ride with the Harris County Sheriff's Office, the Army, and ATF, where they patrol looting and make sure no more rescues are needed. On the trip, we came across numerous neighbors trying to check on their flooded homes. These two right behind me here, they're actually using whatever they can to paddle. One's got what looks like the end of a broomstick. Can't really tell what the other part is. Might even be part of a bed or something like that. The water has receded a little bit here. If you take a look over there on that wall, you can see part of the water line. It's gone down a few feet, but still under, tough to say at this point here, maybe 3 or 4 feet of water. Cars still underwater, hoods damaged by boat propellers. Residents told it may take weeks before the water fully recedes.
7 foot of water, total devastation.
The ongoing search for residents underway.
The challenging thing is we hope we don't find bodies in there, just simply because the water level is so high, it hasn't fully receded, so we don't really know who evacuated early on and who didn't.
And today, some homeowners who are able to get safely back into their house, breaking apart their homes, throwing all waterlogged materials into the streets.
It's not just debris. Like, this is your life.
Yep. That chair right there we got from Sherry's grandmother. That's probably 100 years old.
And while the rest of the country is in back-to-school mode, Houston on major delay. 53 Houston schools with major damage and 22 with extensive damage. The superintendent says an estimated 10 to 12,000 students will need to be temporarily moved to new schools. Those homes in West Houston could be underwater for more than a month. Dan?
Such a disaster for all those families. Victor, thank you. And a quick note, ABC News will be staying on this story. Our Michael Strahan will have much more live from his hometown of Houston tomorrow right here on GMA. Paula?
Thanks, Dan. We want to turn now to the threat out west, where Los Angeles is dealing with the biggest wildfire in the city's history. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez has more from the scene.
Firefighters working through the night, a state of emergency in California as dozens of wildfires burn, including the largest blaze ever recorded in the city of Los Angeles.
This is the biggest fire in 50 years, one of the biggest fires in our entire history.
Scorching more than 7,000 acres of the iconic hills surrounding the country's second largest city. A wall of smoke towering above LA neighborhoods, homes destroyed. This man using a garden hose on his roof trying to keep the flames at bay. The inferno shutting down a major freeway, more than 1,000 people forced to evacuate.
It's not over. Once we get this fire out, you have mudslides.
But now some progress in the firefight, the inferno 30% contained and evacuation orders lifted. But more wildfires are burning across 7 other states.
It's nerve-wracking, that's for sure.
This one in Oregon, police say was started by fireworks.
Ooh, that's toasty.
Leaving more than 150 hikers stranded overnight Saturday. First responders dropping notes from helicopters with a warning to shelter in place. All of them finally rescued. And in Washington state, the Jolly Mountain fire now charring 18,000 acres and growing.
And back here in LA, some embers are still burning around this house, which you can see was leveled. This stove, just about the only recognizable thing left. And this is just a part of the destruction this fire left behind. Dan and Paula.
Yeah, you can't understate the severity of the situation out west. Marcy, thanks for your reporting.
Yeah, thank you, Marcy. And now on a much lighter note, let's talk about that breaking baby news. Princess Kate and Prince William announcing they're expecting their 3rd child, a new sibling for George and Charlotte. We were looking around for somebody British to cover this story for us, and we found ABC's Nick Watt. Good morning to you, sir.
So offensive, Dan. Anyway, this, I think, was an unscheduled announcement. Kate was supposed to be at work today. She pulled out at the last minute, and palace officials came up with an explanation, and the explanation is morning sickness. This morning, baby news from the royal family. Kensington Palace revealing that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge will welcome their 3rd child. The Queen is said to be delighted with the news of a new great-grandchild. The Duchess of Cambridge is once again being treated for severe morning sickness at Kensington Palace, cancelling her planned engagement this morning at the Hornsey Children's Centre. The condition known as hyperemesis gravidarum hospitalised the Duchess during her first pregnancy. It requires extra hydration, medication and nutrients. The new royal, a baby brother or sister for 2-year-old Princess Charlotte and 4-year-old Prince George, will now be 5th in line to the throne after grandfather, father, big brother and big sister, pushing Uncle Prince Harry down 1 spot. Harry is apparently not upset by that. He was out and about this morning. Someone shouted, "Hey, Harry, what do you think?" And he said, "Great news, fantastic." We're already talking names, I'm afraid. Paddy Power, the bookmaker, has Arthur, Alice, Victoria, Henry as the favourites, all at 10-1. Baby due April, May, something like that.
Arthur. Sounds like there's some good history behind it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Congratulations to them. Thanks, Nat.
I'm sorry for offending you.
No, you're not.
Dan usually offends everybody, every now and then. Thanks, Nick. Let's send things back to Ginger. And Ginger, there's a serious situation out in Montana.
And there has been. Oh, my goodness. This is Montana, one of the many fires. There are 75 large wildfires burning across the west. There have been evacuations in several of these fires. But Montana still, with those red flag warnings and the smoke alerts, the entire state smothered. And this has been the case for so many folks. So we wanted to make mention of that. Your local weather in 30 seconds. First, though, the Select Cities brought to you by Walgreens.
Getting your flu shot at Walgreens is easier than ever. Just walk right in and pay $0 with most insurance. Plus, when you get a flu shot at Walgreens, you help provide a life-saving vaccine to a child in need through the UN Foundation. It's that easy to get your flu shot and make a difference. So swing by your local Walgreens today. Walgreens, at the corner of happy and healthy.
Well, sunny and seasonably warm for our Labor Day. Maybe hitting the pool? Well, it's definitely going to be nice. Make sure that you have the SPF. High temperatures climbing to about 84 this afternoon. Tonight, not going to be quite as cool. We will be clear with temperatures in the upper 60s to low 70s. So a little milder getting out the door tomorrow. We'll be sunny through the midday hours tomorrow. And then just hot and humid through the afternoon. We could have some thunderstorms late in the evening hours, turning much cooler. A little wet on Wednesday, but nice and dry as we head into our upcoming weekend.
And coming up on GMA, a murder mystery, a bizarre one. Did cold medicine turn an aspiring pastor into a killer? The chilling new 911 call just released as a husband now faces charges for killing his wife.
I love you, a bushel and a peck, though you make my heart a wreck.